Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're doing something a little different and, I think, incredibly valuable. We often talk about real estate strategies, investment tips, and market trends, but I know many of you have specific, nitty-gritty questions that only a seasoned professional can answer. That's why I am so excited to bring in some real experts to tackle your most pressing concerns head-on. Over the next few minutes, we're going to be joined by some of the sharpest minds in the industry. We've got an experienced property manager who has seen it all when it comes to tenants, maintenance, and maximizing rental income. And we have a top-tier real estate attorney who specializes in the legal complexities of property ownership, from contracts to evictions and everything in between. Think of this as your personal consultation. We've gathered questions directly from you, our amazing community, from the comments section, our DMs, and emails. We're going to dive deep into topics like: how do you properly screen tenants to avoid future headaches? What are the most common legal pitfalls new landlords fall into? And what are the secret strategies property managers use to keep units filled and profitable year-round? So, grab a notebook because you're going to want to take notes. Let's get right into it and welcome our first guest. First up, I'd like to introduce Sarah Jenkins, a certified property manager with over 15 years of experience managing a diverse portfolio of residential properties. Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. Sarah, let's start with one of the most common questions we get: tenant screening. So many of our viewers are new landlords, and they're terrified of getting a tenant from hell. Can you walk us through your bulletproof screening process? What are the absolute must-checks, and what are some red flags that people often miss? For instance, how much weight do you put on a credit score versus, say, references from previous landlords? That's fascinating. So it's not just about the numbers, but the story behind them. I love the tip about actually calling the references and asking open-ended questions. So many people just check the box. Now, moving on to another hot topic: maintenance. It can feel like a never-ending money pit for some owners. What's your strategy for proactive versus reactive maintenance? How do you budget for unexpected repairs? And are there any preventative measures you recommend that can save landlords thousands in the long run? For example, are there specific annual checks you perform on all your properties, like HVAC servicing or roof inspections? Incredible advice. The idea of a maintenance calendar is something I think every landlord, whether they have one property or 50, should implement immediately. It reframes the cost from a surprise expense to a predictable investment in the asset. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. We've learned a ton. All right, now let's switch gears from the practical to the procedural. The legal side of real estate can be intimidating, to say the least. That's why I'm thrilled to welcome our next guest, David Chun. David is a real estate attorney who has helped countless clients navigate the complexities of property law. David, welcome to the show. David, let's jump right in. Leases. So many landlords just download a generic template online. From a legal standpoint, what are the biggest dangers of doing this? What are the top 3 clauses that every single lease agreement absolutely must have to protect the landlord? I'm thinking about things like late fees, guest policies, or subletting rules. That's a huge eye-opener. The specificity you mentioned about state and even city laws is something I think a lot of people overlook. It sounds like a custom-drafted or at least a lawyer-reviewed lease isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Now, let's talk about the scenario every landlord dreads: eviction. It's a sensitive and complicated process. Can you walk us through the general legal steps? What is the most common mistake landlords make that gets their eviction case thrown out of court? And perhaps more importantly, are there de-escalation or alternative strategies you'd recommend trying before initiating a formal eviction process? Wow, the emphasis on documentation is a recurring theme here, and your point about self-help evictions is so critical. Changing the locks or shutting off utilities might seem like a quick solution, but it can land a landlord in serious legal and financial trouble. This is invaluable information. David, thank you for clarifying these complex legal issues for us. Your insights are going to help so many of our viewers avoid costly mistakes. Now, I want to open it up to some live questions we're getting from the audience. This one is for you, Sarah. A viewer asks, what's the best way to handle a good tenant who suddenly starts paying rent late? I don't want to lose them, but I also need the rent on time. Excellent. A compassionate yet firm approach. I think that's the perfect balance. Okay, next question. This one's for David. Someone writes, I'm thinking of buying a property with a friend. What's the best way to structure the ownership legally to prevent problems down the road? A partnership agreement. That makes perfect sense, planning for the end at the beginning. It's like a prenup for your property investment. Great advice. Let's take one more. Sarah, back to you. How do you determine the right rental price? I'm afraid of asking for too little and leaving money on the table, or asking for too much and having the property sit vacant. Running comps, just like you're selling the property, and adjusting based on amenities and real-time demand. That's a very clear, actionable strategy. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I want to extend a massive thank you to our incredible guests, Sarah Jenkins and David Chun, for sharing their expertise with us. The value they provided today was just immense. I've linked their contact information and resources in the description below if you want to connect with them directly. What did you guys think? Did you find this expert Q&A format helpful? Let me know in the comments if you'd like us to do more of these. And if so, what kind of experts you'd like to see next. Maybe a real estate agent specializing in investment properties, or a tax accountant who knows all the deductions for landlords. Your feedback shapes this channel. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you learned something new today, please give this video a thumbs up. And make sure you resubscribed so you don't miss our next one. Until then, keep learning, keep investing, and we'll see you in the next video.